Twisters has managed to tear its way to the top of the summer box office, but it's also raised a lot of questions. Why is it a sequel? Do they really not talk about that? Is it actually worth seeing? And why is that one stereotypical movie moment missing from the end? Let's unpack the answers to all of these questions and more.
It's coming! It's headed right for us! It's already here!
In our era of sequels and reboots, no one was too surprised to hear that we'd be getting a new version of 1996 classic disaster movie Twister, but no one was terribly excited either. It just seemed like yet another boring attempt at a cash grab off of a known property.
Where's my truck? There it is.
But now that it's been released, audiences have actually been really enjoying it. For the most part, at least. The film stars Daisy Edgar-Jones, best known for her role in Normal People, as Kate, a storm chaser who left the field after a traumatic incident to work in the offices of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, which is the agency that works to analyze, understand, and attempt to predict changes in weather and climate across the country. She left the storm-chasing life behind after her boyfriend and two of her friends were killed on a mission because they decided to hide under an underpass, which is something you're definitely not supposed to do.
Overpasses may be one of the worst places to seek shelter from a tornado, as they can put you at a much greater risk of being killed or seriously injured by flying debris.
Glen Powell, who is in seemingly everything nowadays, plays Tyler, a YouTuber, yes really, who runs a storm chasing channel and is known as the Tornado Wrangler. This might at first seem like a lame how do you do fellow kids attempt by the film to relate to modern audiences, but the reality is that amateur storm chasers are and have been a very real thing for a long time. Fans have actually noted that Tyler seems to share some similarities with real-life meteorologist, storm chaser, and YouTuber Reed Timmer.
Feel all the wind flowing into this supercell storm with a massive updraft base and occasional wall clouds forming.
Javi, the only other survivor of the tornado, asks Kate to come out and assist him on one more mission, which is where they run into the YouTube crew. They initially butt heads, and it seems that the setup will be real science versus amateurs. But we come to find out that actually, Tyler really does care about the storms and the people impacted by them, while the scientist tech investor might actually be the one with ulterior motives, which isn't that surprising actually. Yes, the Tornado Wrangler might sell cringe merch with his face on it, but at least he uses the profits to help out those in need. Of course, a big question going into the film was how it was going to be connected to the original movie. A proper sequel, a straight-up reboot, or something else. And it seems that they did take that third path. There are a few Easter egg callbacks to the original film, like Dorothy, but other than that, there aren't really many direct connections to the original film at all. Well, other than the tornadoes, that is.
Cow. Another cow.
Instead, most of the connections are thematic. Kate is similar to Joe in the original film in that much of her arc is about coming to terms with loss and learning to overcome the fear that has resulted from their traumatic experience. While Kate lost her boyfriend and friends, Joe watched her father get sucked up into a tornado when she was a child.
You've never seen what that thing can do, so don't talk to me about it. You've never seen it. You've never seen it miss this house and miss that house and come after you.
They deal with their pain in different ways. Joe became obsessed with storm chasing and doing whatever it took to get more data, while Kate went in the other direction and left the life of storm chasing behind. This idea of leaving the life behind only to get pulled back in is more similar to Bill's story, as he stopped being a storm chaser to become a TV weatherman. Though no matter how much he tried to deny it, just like Kate, the desire to be out in the field was always bubbling inside of him.
As long as you're happy.
I am happy. I'm a happy person. I'm happy with my life. I'm happy with the way things are going in my life.
In both films, the tornadoes of course also function as metaphors for the emotional turmoil the characters are going through. As their lives become more fraught and their real feelings begin bubbling to the surface, the tornadoes get bigger and bigger.
She's shifting.
Oh my God.
The weather devices at the center of each film also symbolized each character's different focus. In Twister, Joe's obsession with learning more and more in an attempt to understand this seemingly random and incomprehensible event that wrecked her life is represented by Dorothy and the data capturing research balls. They, like Joe, need to get right into the storm to be able to get what they really need.
When's it gonna be enough, huh? How close do you have to get?
In Twisters, Kate certainly is interested in research and learning more, but she also seeks a solution to this problem that shook up her life and seems nearly insurmountable. And so we see her work on the experiment to release chemicals into the tornadoes themselves that will hopefully help lessen their strength altogether. While the film does skirt around some important conversations, we'll get to that, it is quite interested in that human element of the story. It explores how grief and fear can be born out of traumatic events and continue to damage lives long after the initial event itself is over, just like the original film.
Things go wrong. You can't explain it. You can't predict it. Killing yourself won't bring your dad back.
It also unpacks how difficult it can be to know who to trust in stressful situations like this. Many viewers found it odd that, of all things, the movie doesn't mention climate change once, especially when paired with director Lee Isaac Chung saying that he doesn't feel like films are meant to be message-oriented, which is just a really odd thing to say about films. It also especially feels weird since even movies like The Day After Tomorrow weren't afraid to bring it up literally decades ago.
Our climate is fragile. At the rate we're burning fossil fuels and polluting the environment, the ice caps will soon disappear. But what I do know is that if we do not act soon, it is our children and our grandchildren who will have to pay the price.
But it seems like actually the no climate change talk thing might have just been from producers, specifically being afraid of saying climate change in the movie, since Chung hasn't really had a problem discussing it and its impact in interviews. And the team did work with plenty of real scientists behind the scenes to make sure that the science was all on point. While climate change's effect on, say, hurricanes is starting to be pretty well understood and documented, it seems like with tornadoes, things are still a little less understood. Certainly it's having an effect, but scientists haven't yet come to specific conclusions about what and to what degree, and so the team decided to just stick with the things that were known for sure.
I wasn't too concerned about whether we would be political or not talking about climate change, but what I wanted to do was to talk to our scientists and to really ask them to let science lead the way. And what I found out was that yes, there is climate change. Yes, climate change is affecting tornadoes, but unfortunately, we don't know what those effects are just yet.
It definitely does feel a little weird to sit through a movie about the weather and changing climate and not ever have them actually mention climate change, but the effects are on display. And to be honest, there are much better places to get your information about our changing climate than a summer blockbuster sequel. With any action disaster film, there's always a concern about how realistic the visual effects look, but especially so with real-life storms that we can see versions of on our screens all the time. So the Twisters team had a big job cut out for them to not only live up to the thrill and terror of the original, but also to compete with how much more familiar audiences are with what tornadoes look like nowadays. And generally things come across quite well. The tornadoes do feel quite real and threatening, and a lot of this is thanks to Chung's insistence on using practical sets and effects as much as possible.
With this movie, it was really a chance to go back to the way that I had learned how to make films, which is to go on location and try to do as much practically as possible.
The movie also uses some real-life footage captured by storm chasers they hired to go out and record real storms to help ground the film even further in reality.
Our storm chaser guys, Sean Casey, who we sent out to go get actual storm footage for us, because he'll go into a place and then he'll spike down and he'll take footage.
The film does lean into some big budget effects on occasion, but because it uses those moments sparingly, they do feel like a genuine part of the action. The film definitely isn't perfect. Some parts, like the romance, feel a little underbaked. Some viewers thought it was weird that after the whole romance subplot, the characters didn't even get the movie moment kiss at the end. But apparently that scene was shot and then cut.
I think it's a Spielberg note, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think it was. Do you know what it is? I think it stops the film feeling too cliched, actually.
But even if they don't get the movie kiss, they do still end up together. And it is nice that the focus of the end is more on Kate getting back into her passion and finding her true self again, instead of just getting the guy. The action is fun, and the story is, for the most part, engaging to watch. And importantly, the whole thing is tied together by some great editing.
I just gotta say, Terry's a genius. She's just an incredible editor, woman king, loving basketball. I mean, she's a legend.
It's a movie that's not really trying to be more than it is. A big budget summer popcorn movie. And on that level, it works. Hopefully other deeper films will be able to use its success to come along and really dive into the things it left out. One important message in this movie that's not supposed to have a message message that does work is its takeaway that the only way we can find solutions to the great problems we face, whether personal or global, is by working together.
It's the wonder of nature, baby!
That's the take. Click here to watch the video we think you'll love, or here to check out a whole playlist of awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. And make sure to subscribe to our Patreon for exclusive new videos.